The evening settles slowly over the distant Sahel, where the land stretches in muted waves of ochre, dust, and fading light. Here the sky is broad, wider than words, deeper than measure, and when the sun slips quietly beyond the horizon, the first stars rise like ancient fires rekindled. In this place, time does not hurry. It drifts, it breathes. And in the heart of this stillness lives the Dogon people. Their homeland lies along the sandstone cliffs of the Bandiagara escarpment in present-day Mali, a place where stone villages cling to the cliffs like memories, and winding paths trace the lives of countless generations. At night, the air cools, carrying the faint scent of dry earth and cooking fires. Crickets murmur softly beneath the stillness. And above it all, the sky begins its slow unveiling, a tapestry of constellations stretching from horizon to horizon. For the Dogon, these stars are not simply distant lights. They are ancient companions, teachers, keepers of stories whispered from the beginning of time. The elders say that when the world was still young, the sky spoke in symbols. The stars were guides, shaping the rhythm of seasons, the cadence of ceremonies, and the deep structure of belief. Even now, in the hush of night, one might imagine a storyteller seated beside the fire, the flickering glow tracing shadows across stone walls as a measured voice rises gently into the darkness. He speaks calmly, without urgency, without the need to astonish, only to remember. He tells of Sirius, the brightest star in the heavens. To most who gaze upward, Sirius is one solitary spark of light. But among the Dogon, stories have long spoken of something more, of a hidden companion, small yet heavy, circling the star in measured silence. This companion, they say, moves in an elongated path, completing its journey in roughly 50 years. Long before modern astronomy spoke openly of Sirius B, a dense white dwarf unseen by the naked eye, the Dogon already carried this knowledge within their sacred traditions. The details reside not in hurried speculation, but in patient lore passed carefully from elder to initiate, preserved not in books but in memory, ritual, and symbol. Yet their story does not shout for attention. It does not demand belief. It simply rests within the flow of time, like water carved slowly into stone. As the night deepens, the storyteller describes the Nam, spiritual beings tied to the origins of life, to water, to order and renewal. Their tales weave gently, like threads of starlight through the dark fabric of the sky. The words are neither fearful nor strange, only serene, rooted in an ancient sense of connection between earth and the heavens. Historical researchers visiting in the 20th century listened carefully and recorded these traditions. They noted the surprising astronomical details preserved within Dogon teachings, knowledge of invisible stellar companions, of planetary motion, even of the rotation of celestial bodies. The world beyond the cliffs began to whisper in fascination. How could such knowledge exist here, preserved for centuries without telescopes or modern instruments? No one truly knows. Perhaps it was careful sky watching across generations. Perhaps ancient observation reached deeper than we assume. Or perhaps the truth is something quieter, more subtle, a blending of symbolic meaning and cosmic awareness that does not separate science from story. And so the listener is invited not to judge, but simply to dwell in the mystery. The wind shifts slightly across the plateau. The firelight glows in gentle pulses. A voice continues its steady rhythm, neither rising nor falling sharply, but drifting like a soft current. We learn that the Dogon calendar, rituals, and artwork often mirror celestial cycles. Masks carved from wood carry symbolic patterns. Ceremonies unfold in alignment with cosmic rhythms. Life is not divided between the earthly and the sky. It is a single flowing tapestry in which each thread supports the others. The villages themselves, nestled into the rock, feel like part of the land, shaped by it, sheltered by it. The cliffs stand like guardians of memory, etched with generations of footsteps. When the rains come, they pass with the quiet patience of time itself. When the dry season returns, the stars regain their clarity, bright and unfiltered. And always Sirius returns, steady, radiant, timeless. The stories do not rush forward. They pause often, allowing space for silence, because silence, too, carries meaning. The past here is not gone. It lingers in the air, in the stones, in the sky above. As the fire burns low, the storyteller's final words for the night drift outward like embers floating toward the stars. There are things we understand. There are things we measure. And there are things that simply are. Mystery does not resist us. It invites us to walk beside it. And so, as the echoes of the ancient world softened into the night, the stars continued their eternal watch. The new day begins without haste. In the land of the Dogon, sunrise does not break the horizon suddenly. Instead, it unfolds like a breath. First comes a faint gray softening of the darkness. Then a pale warmth gathers in the east, washing the sky in muted gold, as though the earth itself were slowly waking from a deep and ancient dream. Stone dwellings emerge from the shadows, revealing the contours of walls shaped by many hands across many generations. Pathways wind between granaries topped with cone-shaped roofs, their forms steady and familiar beneath the widening morning light. Life begins in quiet routine, the measured rhythm of footsteps, the murmur of greetings, the slow preparation of the day. Yet even as daily tasks take shape, the sky remains a constant presence, calm, expansive, eternal. For the Dogon, the heavens are not distant. They are like a language spoken softly across time. Every star, every pattern, every slow turning of the seasons is part of a greater conversation. A conversation not only observed, but felt. It is said that long ago, when the first ancestors settled among the cliffs, they listened deeply, not only with the ears, but with the heart. They learned that the world is layered, that the visible is only one aspect of a broader harmony, and that knowledge lives not only in tools or instruments, but in patient attention. The sky became both teacher and companion. In the shade of a baobab tree, an elder sits among a group of young listeners. His voice is gentle, unhurried. He speaks of the constellations, how certain stars appear at specific times of year, guiding the rhythm of agriculture, ceremony, and community life. He explains that Sirius, known among the Dogon as Sigwi Tolo, holds a special place in this cosmic order. Its brilliance marks the turning of great cycles. The elder describes its unseen companion, the dense, hidden star said to revolve around Sirius, and how its long orbit is woven into the timing of sacred rituals held only once in a human lifetime. This ritual is called the Sigwi. It is not merely a festival. It is a renewal of understanding, a reaffirmation of connection between the living world and the deeper order that lies beyond sight. Every 60 years or so, when the cycle aligns, the Dogon gather to commemorate the first ancestors, those who, in distant memory, received the teachings of creation and the movement of the heavens. Carved masks of striking, symbolic form emerge from sacred spaces. Songs echo across the landscape. The people walk together, each step echoing those taken by countless generations before. Nothing about these ceremonies is hurried. Meaning ripens slowly like fruit beneath the sun. Historians and anthropologists who came to study the Dogon in the 20th century were struck by the depth and structure of their cosmology. They recorded descriptions of Sirius and its hidden companion, a star so dense, the elders said, that it weighed more than iron. A star invisible yet present. A star that turns in a great celestial dance measurable not in seasons or years, but in decades. Modern astronomy later confirmed that Sirius B, a white dwarf, truly exists. It is small. It is unimaginably dense. And it follows a 50-year orbit around Sirius A. This alignment between story and science sparked fascination. How could such intricate celestial knowledge survive here in oral tradition across centuries? There are many theories, careful observation across generations, ancient exchange with early travelers, or perhaps symbolic myth that happens to echo later discovery. Yet none of these explanations fully dispel the quiet wonder. Instead, the mystery remains not loud, not demanding, simply resting in the space between knowing and not knowing. As afternoon light ripples gently across the cliffs, the land itself seems to breathe with history. The rock faces hold traces of old habitations, caves carved into the stone, ledges where homes once stood. Walking along narrow paths, one senses the layered presence of time, past and present gently intertwined. The Dogon worldview does not separate the spiritual from the physical. To them, the structure of the universe mirrors the structure of society, of life, of the seasons. Order flows outward from the stars, into ritual, into farming, into art, into the subtle patterns of daily living. Even grains stored in the tall granaries are said to reflect cosmic harmony, nourishment grounded in the same order that guides the stars above. And when night returns, as it always does, the sky once again grows immense and clear. The Milky Way stretches like a river of light across the darkness. Constellations stand as familiar guardians. The bright spark of Sirius glows low upon the horizon, steady and serene. It shines not as an isolated point, but as a reminder that the universe is vast, that time is deep, and that human beings have always looked upward, searching not only for knowledge, but for meaning. The fire crackles softly. Shadows dance across stone walls. The night becomes a gentle tapestry of sound and silence. Somewhere in the village, a quiet song rises, slow, rhythmic, reflective. It does not seek to entertain. It simply exists, as natural as the stars themselves, weaving past and present into a single, unbroken thread. And in that stillness, the seeker begins to understand. Mystery is not an answer withheld. It is an invitation to listen more deeply. And so, as the echoes of the ancient world softened into the night, the sky continued its timeless, silent speech. Evening returns slowly to the land of the Dogon. The sun descends toward the horizon, its final light brushing the cliffs in muted amber and bronze. Long shadows stretch across the earth, softening edges and easing the day into twilight. The air cools and the sky above begins once more to reveal its quiet legion of stars. This is the hour when stories deepen, when the young sit near the elders, when the crackle of the fire becomes part of the voice. when the past feels close enough to touch. Tonight, the storyteller speaks of origins. He begins calmly without flourish. His words drift like gentle ripples across still water. Long ago, he says, before the first seeds were planted, before the first village rose beside the cliffs, the universe emerged from a state of hidden potential, a quiet, waiting fullness. From this fullness came life, shaped by forces both seen and unseen. Central to this ancient Dogon understanding are the Namo, beings associated with water, creation, and the ordering of the cosmos. Their story is not told as fantasy, nor as fear. It is shared with reverence as a symbolic language expressing how life came to be aligned, balanced, and sustained. The Namo are said to have descended from the heavens in a time beyond memory, bringing with them the principles of harmony and knowledge. They are linked with water because water, to the Dogon, is the element of life itself, the fluid that cleanses, nourishes, and connects all things. Just as water flows through the veins of the earth, so too does meaning flow through the structure of the universe. Every part of life, the stars above, the soil beneath, the villages along the cliffs, is joined in an intricate design. The storyteller lifts a hand toward the sky. He explains that the path of Sirius and its hidden companion mirrors the ordering nature of the Namo. The stars are not merely distant fires. They are patterns of meaning written across the heavens. The orbital cycles, the regular turning of celestial bodies, reflect the deeper rhythm of creation. There is a sense that nothing is random. Everything has its place. In Dogon art and symbolism, the Nam are often represented through elongated forms, spirals, and flowing lines, shapes that echo both water and the looping movement of the stars. To an outside observer, these images might seem abstract, but to those within the culture, they carry layers of significance, cosmology expressed through form. The idea that Sirius possesses a hidden companion, small, dense, and circling with great patience, is woven quietly into these narratives. It is not presented as trivia nor as spectacle. It is simply part of the world's structure, much like the slow rhythm of breath or the turning of seasons. The outside world, when it learned of these teachings, reacted with fascination. Western researchers noted that the Dogon described Sirius B with remarkable clarity, speaking of its hidden nature, its heavy mass, and its long orbital period. Some even suggested that the Dogon also knew of a possible third star in the system, though this remains debated, uncertain, drifting somewhere between speculation and curiosity. Yet here under the African sky, none of this is debated loudly. It simply lives, preserved in ceremony, carried in memory, passed on through quiet words at the end of the day. In Dogon tradition, knowledge is not a possession. It is a responsibility. Elders guard it carefully, sharing it only when the listener has reached a state of readiness, when patience, humility, and respect have been learned. In this way, the past does not erode. It endures. As the narrative continues, the storyteller describes how the Namo restored balance to the universe after a moment of cosmic disruption, guiding the world back into harmony. This idea of restoring order is central to Dogon thought. The world is understood as delicate, requiring care, alignment, and ritual to maintain balance. Every ceremony, every song, every carving exists for a reason. And the great Sigwi ceremony, held once every 60 years, stands as a living reminder of cosmic renewal. It marks the turning of vast cycles, echoing the long motion of Sirius' hidden companion. During Sigwi, the community gathers not only to celebrate, but to remember the origin of their knowledge, the shape of the heavens, and their place within the grand design. The cliffs echo with chanting. Masks rise in solemn procession. The air becomes thick with meaning, not loud, not frantic, just deeply, endlessly calm. The night deepens and the Milky Way stretches across the sky like a luminous path. The fire flickers softer now, illuminating the faces of the listeners, eyes reflecting both flame and starlight. Perhaps one of them wonders how humans, thousands of miles apart and across centuries, have always looked upward. Ancient civilizations from distant continents mapped the heavens, recorded cycles, and shaped their lives around celestial rhythms. It is as though the stars speak a universal language, and each culture heard a different, beautiful dialect. For the Dogon, that language includes the Namo. It includes Sirius, its companion, its cycles, its deep gravity, literal and symbolic. And the more one listens, the more one realizes this is not simply a story of astronomy. It is a story of relationship between humans and the sky, between past and present, between knowledge and mystery. The storyteller falls silent for a moment, allowing the pause to rest gently over the gathering. Crickets sing softly. A faint wind traces the edges of the stone homes. Somewhere in the darkness, a bird calls once, then grows quiet. Finally, the elder speaks again, slowly, reflectively. He reminds the listeners that not all mysteries demand resolution. Some simply invite wonder. And in that wonder, we find our place in the vast, quiet order of existence. The fire lowers. The stars shine on. And thus, the mystery rested once more beneath the quiet passage of time. The land of the Dogon does not shout for attention. It rests quietly beneath the vast African sky, where the great Bandiagara cliffs rise from the earth like weathered pages of an ancient book. Layered rock faces stretch for miles, bearing the subtle marks of wind, sand, and memory. Along their ledges and at their base, villages lie in gentle stillness, a harmony of stone, wood, and clay shaped carefully to the rhythm of the land. As dawn unfolds across the plateau, the first light grazes the tops of the cliffs, tracing soft golden lines across their surface. Shadows recede slowly, revealing granaries and courtyards, stair-like paths and terraces carved carefully into the rock. The world awakens not in haste, but in a measured calm. Footsteps echo lightly upon worn stone. Children laugh softly. The day settles into motion like a slow river flowing between its banks. Here, life and landscape are inseparable. The Dogon have long adapted to this environment, cultivating millet in the dry fields, gathering water where it can be found, and tending to the delicate balance between necessity and preservation. Their architecture rises from the land with humility, shaped from local earth, shaded by wooden beams, guided by traditions older than memory. The cliffs themselves hold layers of history. High upon the rock face, small, window-like openings mark the ancient dwellings of the Telem, a people who inhabited these cliffs centuries before the Dogon arrived. Their homes perch impossibly along narrow ledges, as though suspended between earth and sky. Over time, the Dogon inherited the land, bringing their own rich cosmology, weaving their lives into the same stone tapestry. From the foot of the cliffs, the sky expands in every direction, broad, luminous, undisturbed by city lights. When night returns, the stars shine with astonishing clarity, filling the darkness with quiet brilliance. In this vastness, the Dogon learned to read the sky not as distraction, but as a vital companion. They saw patterns. They listened for meaning. They watched year after year, generation after generation, as Sirius Sigwitolo reappeared in its season bright and steady, marking the slow turning of the cosmic wheel. In this world, time is not counted in hurried hours. It is measured through cycles, the rhythm of planting and harvest, the path of the sun, the rising and setting of stars, and the distant orbit of a hidden companion star lifting and falling through the centuries. This sense of expanded time has shaped Dogon culture in profound ways. Wisdom is not simply discovered, it is waited for, learned slowly, absorbed through ceremony, observation, and reflection. Children grow listening to stories not simply as entertainment, but as threads weaving them into the greater tapestry of their people. In the villages, elders gather beneath the shade of large trees, their voices low and steady. They discuss the affairs of daily life, crops, weather, family, but always within the broader understanding that human existence is part of a larger order. The universe itself is reflected in the community, and the community reflects the universe. Masks carved for ceremonial use stand quietly within sacred enclosures, awaiting the moments when their presence is called upon to guide the living. Their designs are symbolic, layered with meaning, echoing celestial forms, ancestral traditions, and the eternal dance of creation and renewal. The Dogon, the spiritual leader of the community, carries a deep responsibility. He is a guardian of tradition, a mediator between spiritual and earthly matters, a keeper of knowledge handed down through the ages. His role is not one of domination, but of guidance, ensuring that harmony is maintained, both within the village and within the order of ritual life. It is within this calm, enduring structure that Dogon star knowledge rests. Not isolated, not sensational, simply part of the grand alignment of things. Researchers who came to the region were struck by how seamlessly astronomy, spirituality, agriculture, and social life flowed together. To the Dogon, the sky was not separate from the earth. It simply existed above as an extension of the same reality. The cycles of Sirius and its hidden companion, the star known to science as Sirius B, were interwoven into myth, symbol, and ceremony. Yet though scholars recorded their conversations, many aspects of Dogon cosmology remain closed to outsiders, preserved through initiation and trust. Knowledge here is not displayed. It is protected. As midday heat settles upon the plateau, the air grows still. Wind sleeps. Sounds soften. And one can sense that beneath the surface of daily life, a deeper current flows, a silent awareness of connection, of belonging within the vast structure of the world. And when evening falls again, the landscape drifts back into shadow. Cooking fires glow softly in the courtyards. Voices lower into gentle conversation. Stars gather overhead like ancient witnesses. Sirius appears once more, bright, unwavering, its hidden companion turning in silence, unseen yet ever present as it has through countless generations. One might imagine a traveler arriving here for the first time, drawn by curiosity about the Dogon's celestial knowledge. Perhaps that traveler would expect wonder to be loud, a spectacle, a revelation. But instead, they would find something quieter, a people living in balance with their land. A sky studied not with instruments, but with patient reverence. A mystery that does not press for explanation. It simply rests. And in that resting, the traveler, like the listener, might begin to understand that the greatest mysteries are not those that astonish us suddenly, but those that remain gently present just beyond full comprehension. The night deepens, the world grows still, and thus the mystery rested once more beneath the quiet passage of time. There are moments in a people's life that unfold not in days or years, but in generations. Among the Dogon, one such moment is the Sigwi, the great ceremonial cycle that returns only once every 60 years, like a distant echo carried across the quiet valley of time. It is not simply a festival, nor merely a ritual gathering. It is a living bridge between the past and the present, between the people and the stars that watch over them. The Sigwi does not arrive suddenly. It approaches like dawn, gradually, gently, with preparation woven into daily life long before the first chants rise into the air. The elders know when the time draws near. They watch the sky. They remember the stories. They trace the long rhythm of Sirius, Sigwi Tolo, and the hidden star they believe travels beside it in solemn orbit. The connection between the Sigwi and the heavens is not spoken of lightly. It is understood rather than declared, a truth held with reverence, like a flame protected from the wind. When the time arrives, entire communities become part of the unfolding ceremony. Men of a certain age, those who have waited a lifetime for this moment, take part in an initiation that marks their passage into deeper understanding. Younger faces watch, knowing their own turn may come far into the future, perhaps when their hair has turned gray and their hands have grown worn from years beneath the Sahel sun. The Sigwi moves from village to village along the escarpment, sometimes over a period of years. With each gathering, ancient masks appear, some carved newly for the occasion, others echoing designs passed down from the past. One of the most striking forms is the Kanaga mask, with its cross-shaped structure reaching outward like a symbol of the balance between heaven and earth. The atmosphere during Sigwi is not one of frenzy, but of deep, steady presence. There is music, there is chant, there is a calm, measured dance that reflects the rhythm of the cosmos. Knowledge during these moments is not taught in lectures or recorded in books. It is lived within the ceremony itself, absorbed through movement, through song, through the quiet gravity of tradition. To witness Sigwi is to stand at the meeting point of the visible and the symbolic. Every gesture has meaning. Every symbol reflects a deeper truth. Even the long staff carried by elders, even the carefully carved figures mirror the structures of Dogon cosmology. And always, somewhere beyond the veil of daylight, Sirius continues its silent shining. Researchers who studied the Sigwi cycle noted how closely it aligns within tradition to long astronomical rhythms. Some speculated that its 60-year span echoes the orbital period attributed to Sirius' hidden companion. Whether by observation, symbolic association, or some other path now lost to time, the Dogon wove the sky into their most sacred rite. But to those who live beneath these cliffs, the significance of Sigwi rests not in comparison, nor in debate. It lives in continuity. It lives in the understanding that the world unfolds in broad cycles, where memory stretches across centuries, and the actions of one generation ripple gently into the next. Families prepare offerings. Stories are retold. Patterns in the sand are traced with careful hands. Children, watching quietly, may not yet understand the full depth of what they see. But the seed of memory is planted, a subtle awareness that they are part of something older and wider than their own lives. And in time, that awareness grows. The cliffs themselves seem to listen during Sigwi. Their stone surfaces, carved by the wind of centuries, hold every whisper of chant, every echo of the low drums that pulse like a slow heartbeat beneath the solemn songs. As dusk falls, fires light the gathering spaces, and the glow reflects upon masks and faces alike. A visitor might expect tension or spectacle. Instead, they would find serenity, a kind of stillness not of silence, but of understanding. For the Dogon, the Sigwi is also a time to renew the memory of the first ancestor, the one who, in the deep beginning of their mythology, opened the path of knowledge and order. Through the ceremony, the world is realigned with that original balance, just as the Namo restored harmony in the time of creation. It is as though, for a brief moment, the fabric of existence settles into perfect symmetry. Night after night, the stars remain constant witnesses. Sirius gleams, the brightest star in the sky, its hidden companion turning invisibly through space. Science tells us that Sirius B is a white dwarf heavy beyond imagination, yet small enough to elude the naked eye. Its orbit, first measured by astronomers through instruments, echoes the long rhythms embedded in Dogon ceremonial time. How these patterns came together, whether through observation, ancient contact, symbolic structure, or some interweaving of many threads, remains uncertain. And perhaps it is meant to remain so, for not every mystery calls for a final answer. Some exist to remind us of the vastness of human thought, of the deep wells of memory preserved in story and ritual. The fire crackles softly, the chanting fades, and the night stretches onward. Beyond the cliffs, the land opens into wide plains, bathed in silver light from the gentle moon. A breeze stirs the grasses. Footsteps fade into the darkness as families return to their homes. Inside, the air is cool and still. Someone may whisper a final word. Someone else may simply close their eyes, letting the rhythm of the day dissolve into quiet rest. And the sky, always patient, continues to turn. Above it all, the stars remain where they have always been, holding their mysteries not tightly, but gently, like an open hand. And so, as the echoes of the ancient world softened into the night, the cycle of Sigwi rested once more beneath the quiet passage of time. For countless generations, the Dogon people lived in rhythm with their land and their sky, their stories carried through time like gentle currents in a deep and steady river. Their knowledge was spoken softly, preserved in memory, guarded by ritual and respect. Then in the early decades of the 20th century, the wider world, curious, restless, and searching, began to arrive among the cliffs of the Bandiagara Plateau. They came from distant continents, carrying notebooks, carrying questions, carrying their own ways of seeing. French anthropologists Marcel Griaule and Germain Dieterlen were among those who spent many years with the Dogon. They listened to elders, observed ceremonies, traced symbols carved into masks and sculptures, and recorded what had once been spoken only within the community. Their visits were not casual. They returned again and again, learning the language, building trust, moving gently through the slow unfolding of Dogon tradition. Through these careful exchanges, the outside world first heard in detail of the Dogon understanding of the cosmos, of Sirius, of its hidden companion, of the Namo, of cycles both earthly and celestial. The researchers wrote of Sirius B, the invisible star described by Dogon elders as exceedingly small yet extraordinarily heavy, moving in an elongated orbit around its bright companion. They noted that this description matched, in striking ways, modern astronomical discovery. In the late 19th century, Western scientists had detected Sirius B through telescopic observation and mathematical inference, learning that it was a white dwarf star, dense beyond ordinary imagination. To find such knowledge embedded in ancient oral tradition seemed, to many, remarkable. As these findings were published, the academic world reacted with fascination. Some scholars marveled at the depth of Dogon cosmology. Others questioned the methods of research or suggested that modern astronomical information may have reached the Dogon through travelers or colonial contact. Debates rose and settled like distant waves upon a calm shore, thoughtful, speculative, and unresolvable in full. Yet here, beneath the African sky, the mystery remained untouched by argument. For the Dogon, their cosmology was not a subject for comparison. It was simply part of life. Knowledge, whether of the stars or the soil, belonged to community, to ritual, to rhythm. It was never separated from meaning. The elders spoke not only of celestial bodies, but of creation, order, responsibility, and balance, all woven together like strands of a single story. Those who lived among the cliffs did not rush to explain themselves. They did not insist. They simply continued, day by gentle day. Still, the presence of researchers marked a subtle turning point. A doorway had been opened between worlds, between a traditional society rooted in long cycles of memory and a modern world hungry for discovery and verification. Stories once shared only in intimate gatherings now traveled across oceans, printed in books, spoken in universities, pondered in distant cities. Yet the heart of the mystery remained grounded in place. When evening descended and the first stars kindled in the darkening sky, Dogon families still gathered near small fires. Elders still spoke in low, measured tones. The old symbols carved in wood and stone continued to carry meaning far beyond their visible forms. The outside world might debate origins and sources, but within the community, the stories lived as they always had, steady as the turning of the heavens. Science, for its part, continued to learn more about Sirius. Astronomers refined measurements of its orbit, mass, and composition. Sirius B, once only a faint idea in equations, became an object of detailed study, a star compressed into something smaller than Earth, yet heavier than the Sun. Instruments confirmed what the elders had long described. Gravity pressed so tightly upon Sirius B that matter itself existed in a strange state, dense and bright beyond ordinary comprehension. Still, the deeper question lingered quietly. How had Dogon tradition come to mirror such knowledge? Some suggested ancient observation using methods no longer remembered. Others proposed cultural exchange across forgotten trade routes. Still others believed that symbolism and myth had, by coincidence, echoed later scientific interpretation. Yet none of these answers fully dissolved the sense of wonder. Perhaps in the end, the value of the mystery lay not in solving it, but in recognizing the richness of human thought, the many ways civilizations across the world have sought to understand the great structure of existence. And in the quiet of evening, as night settled gently upon the land, another thought arose. that the Dogon did not approach the stars as distant objects to be conquered or measured. They approached them as companions, as reflections of order, as teachers of patience, as signs of a universe woven with meaning. The cliffs remained as they had always been, ancient, steady, sheltering. Wind traced their edges. The scent of earth and fire drifted through the air. And high above, Sirius continued to gleam with unwavering brilliance while its hidden companion turned invisibly beside it, completing a silent journey every half-century. Somewhere a child looked upward. Somewhere an elder lowered his gaze thoughtfully, and the cycle of listening continued. In these moments, one could sense how fragile and beautiful human curiosity truly is, stretching across cultures, across ages, across the deep well of time. Different worlds of understanding meeting beneath the same expanse of stars. And as the night deepened and the soft darkness wrapped itself gently around the villages, the story rested once more, calm, quiet, unhurried. And thus, the mystery rested once more beneath the quiet passage of time. The night settles in heavy and silent, as if the world itself is holding its breath. Our journey has brought us far from the whispered legends and dusty archives. Now every step echoes against stone walls that have not heard human footsteps for centuries. The entrance was never meant to be found. Hidden beneath the crumbling remains of an abandoned chapel, a narrow stairway spirals downward into the earth. The air grows colder, older with every step. The lantern flickers, dancing across the carvings etched into the wall. Symbols you've seen before, but only in fragments. Here they repeat over and over, circling the passage like a warning or a welcome. At the bottom waits a vast chamber, its ceiling lost somewhere in the shadows. Stone pillars rise like silent sentinels. And in the center, resting on a cracked altar, lies the object that has haunted centuries of rumor, a sealed stone tablet, worn, unreadable at first glance. But beneath the dust, the carvings come alive. The same sigil, the same forgotten language, the same story told again and again by different civilizations that swore they'd never known each other. A cycle, a secret, a pattern. You trace the markings with trembling fingers, and slowly the truth takes shape. This wasn't treasure. It wasn't a relic. It was a message, left behind for whoever finally reached this place. But as the realization dawns, so does another presence. You're not alone down here. Footsteps echo softly, then stop. Silence presses in like a weight. Had someone followed you? Or had something been waiting all along? The lantern dims. The symbols on the stone seem to pulse. And for the first time, you understand why this chamber was buried, erased, and guarded by time itself. Some knowledge does not want to be uncovered. And some doors once opened, never close again. The silence in the underground chamber feels alive. Your lantern flickers once, twice. Then steadies, casting long shadows that crawl across the stone floor like restless spirits. The air hums with a faint vibration, barely audible, but enough to stir a primal warning deep inside you. The sealed tablet waits. It has waited for centuries. You steady your breath and brush away the final layer of dust. The carvings sharpen into focus, forming words older than any known tongue. Yet somehow your mind begins to understand. It speaks of cycles, a world that rises, a world that prospers, a world that listens only to itself, then falls, again and again and again. According to the tablet, long before recorded history, there were civilizations more advanced than any we know. They thrived until they reached a single turning point. Not war, not famine, not disaster. Awakening. an awareness of something deeper beneath reality, a hidden mechanism woven into existence itself. Each time humanity grew too curious, too close to understanding how fragile the world truly was. The cycle reset, not naturally, by design. Your lantern's flame bends sideways for a moment as if tugged by an unseen current. A cold realization tightens in your chest. The guardians of the cycle were real, not gods, not spirits, not aliens, something older. Something that watched silently from the edges of perception, stepping in only when the pattern broke. Civilizations who saw beyond the veil disappeared not because of their discovery, but because they refused to forget. The footsteps you heard earlier echo again, closer now. You spin around, but the chamber is empty, or at least it appears to be. The carvings beneath your hand begin to glow faintly, threads of pale light tracing ancient lines. A final inscription reveals itself. To know is to be seen is to be judged, and when judgment comes, the world begins anew. Your heart pounds, you've read it, you understand. And the chamber, once silent, now hums like a distant storm gathering strength. Dust trembles, stone cracks softly, as though the simple act of awareness has set something in motion. You extinguish the lantern, darkness folds around you. But the glowing symbols remain bright as distant stars, burning the warning into your mind. Humanity is not the first, it may not be the last, and the Watchers are already aware of you. Epilogue, a final whisper when you return to the surface. The world looks the same, but you no longer trust it. The sky feels watched. The wind sounds. Aware, and deep beneath your feet, the chamber waits patiently for the next curious soul who dares to ask the wrong question. Some mysteries were never meant to be solved, and now you carry one of them forever.